Do you feel it? That strange emptiness that creeps in when everything goes quiet? That subtle discomfort, like something inside you knows you're meant for more? Like every second slipping by is silent proof that you're falling behind. You wake up, go through the motions, do just enough to get by. But deep down, you know you're losing something. And no, it's not time, it's respect. Respect for yourself. Discipline is that invisible line that separates the people who build from the ones who just dream. But hey, don't beat yourself up just yet. There's something no one told you. Something Carl Jung understood better than most. Your lack of discipline? It's not laziness. It's something way deeper and a lot darker. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Let that sink in, because what you do or don't do isn't just about willpower. It's not about logic. It's about the hidden parts of you, the ones you've buried, rejected, or denied. And guess what? Those parts aren't asleep. They're in control. Most people who struggle with discipline don't realize this. They think they need more motivation, a better planner, a perfect morning routine, but they're just treating the symptoms, not the root. You don't need another 5 a.m. alarm or a motivational video blasting in your ears. You need to look inward, and I'll be honest, you're not going to like what you find. You want discipline? Then you need to meet the real enemy, yourself, or more specifically, the version of you that you've been ignoring, the one hiding behind excuses like, "I'll start tomorrow," or "Now's not the right time." Jung called it the shadow. And it's not just a metaphor, it's real. It shows up every time you delay what matters, every time you choose comfort over growth. It's not weakness, it's sabotage, a quiet internal rebellion that keeps you stuck. But here's the twist. You can't destroy your shadow. You can't erase it. You can only integrate it, tame it. And that, right there, is the real path to discipline. Because discipline isn't about being strict. It's about making peace with yourself. It's when you stop fighting your own reflection and finally align with what you know you're meant to do. But that only happens when you stop running, when you stop making excuses and start asking yourself the hard questions. What am I avoiding? What part of me am I afraid to face? That's the turning point, because as long as you think discipline is about being strong, you'll keep losing. But if you realize it's about awareness, about bringing light to the parts of you that live in the dark, then you're ready. Here's something almost no one admits. Most people wake up with a quiet sense of betrayal. They don't always know what they've betrayed, so they call it boredom, or anxiety, or apathy. But it's really the scream of your unused potential. It's the echo of who you could be, drowned out by who you've settled to be. Jung said that when we don't face our shadow, we project it. We see it in others. We hate in them what we haven't accepted in ourselves. And that's what keeps us stuck in self-sabotage. That's why when you break a promise to yourself, it's not because you're weak. It's because your shadow is at the wheel, and you don't even know it. The worst part? Your shadow doesn't show up as a monster. It shows up as a kind voice. It tells you to rest, that it's not that important, that you'll do it tomorrow. It comforts you while it pulls you down. And you, without realizing it, call that voice logic. You hand it the keys to your time, your energy, your future. You see, discipline isn't the goal, it's the byproduct. It shows up when you've faced yourself, when you've broken and rebuilt and finally know who's in charge. But most people never get there. Why? Because it hurts. Facing yourself is brutal. There's no applause, no audience, just you, the truth, and a mirror that doesn't lie. But that pain, it's necessary, because if you don't go through it, you'll spend your life thinking the problem is the world, your job, your past, but it's not. The problem is you, the part of you haven't brought into the light, the part that chooses comfort over growth, validation over self-respect. But here's the good news. You're not alone. No one is born disciplined. It's forged, and it's forged in the dark, in the moments when you rise even though you don't feel like it, when you choose what hurts because you know it builds you, when you look in the mirror, see your worst enemy, and still don't flinch. Jung talked about individuation, the journey of becoming your true self. And that means dropping the masks, letting go of the excuses, walking through your own chaos, and coming out the other side with a truth stronger than anything life throws at you. Now brace yourself for this. You don't lack discipline, you lack honesty. Because if you were being truly honest, you'd see that every excuse you make is just a way to avoid facing your own mediocrity. It's harsh, but it's also freeing. Because the moment you stop lying to yourself, something powerful wakes up, a force that doesn't need motivation or inspiration, just clarity. Clarity about who you are and what you're no longer willing to tolerate from yourself. So, you want to stop failing? Then ask yourself this: who's making the decisions right now? The version of you that wants results, or the one that wants comfort? Because you can't have both. One builds, the other keeps you numb. And here's the twist you probably didn't see coming. That part of you that procrastinates, that hides, that avoids, it's not trying to ruin your life. It actually thinks it's helping. It's just confused. It's running on old programming. Stuff from your childhood, your past, your traumas. You can't delete that part of you, but you can re-educate it with presence, with intention, with action. I'm not talking about brute force here. I'm talking about conscious effort, choosing discomfort because you know it leads to freedom, saying no when everything inside you screams yes, holding back the impulse, not because you're weak, but because you're finally in control. That's what real freedom looks like. And real discipline? It doesn't make noise. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't need validation. It's quiet, it's brutal, it's consistent, and it's the only path to self-respect. Let me tell you something you won't forget. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you're not just skipping a task. You're damaging your identity. You're telling yourself, I can't trust me. And when you can't trust yourself, you live like you're a threat to your own future. That's the real hell. That's why discipline isn't about control. It's about peace. The peace of knowing you won't abandon yourself. The peace of knowing you don't need someone else to push you because you've already chosen your path. But that kind of peace, it only comes from the darkest place, from facing your shadow. From finally stopping the justifications. So now it's your move. Are you going to keep hiding behind polished excuses? Or are you going to stare down what's really holding you back? Because Jung made something crystal clear, and you need to burn this into your mind. What you don't make conscious will destroy you, and it will do it with your permission. But if you choose to look, if you choose to see yourself with raw honesty, if you choose to integrate what you've always avoided, then discipline won't be something you chase. It'll be something you become. And here's where everything shifts. Because your lack of discipline, it didn't start with you. You're not just battling your own shadows. You're tangled in something much bigger, the collective unconscious. Jung didn't just talk about your personal demons. He talked about the deep psychological network we all share. A system of symbols, traumas, and beliefs passed down through generations. And here's the brutal truth. A lot of the things holding you back, they're not even yours. They were implanted in you. Since you were a kid, you were taught to obey, to fall in line, to not ask too many questions. They told you, if you don't feel like it, don't do it. If you're not passionate, wait. Motivation will come, lie after lie. And now you walk around thinking desire comes before action. But Jung knew the truth. Desire is smoke. Action is the spark. Waiting to feel ready? That's the most dangerous form of self-sabotage. And guess what? That's exactly what the system wants. A population that's always waiting, always needing approval, always looking outside for direction. Why? Because a mind that doesn't control itself is easy to control. And this is where most people get lost. They think they lack discipline because they lack motivation. But the truth? It's way more uncomfortable. You don't lack discipline. You've been trained to depend on others. And breaking that training? It hurts. But here's something wild. You already are disciplined. How do I know? Because you're consistent, you're persistent, you're committed to the wrong things, you're disciplined in your avoidance, you're reliable in your excuses, you're loyal to your own self-destruction. It's not a lack of ability, it's a lack of direction. And now we've arrived at a critical point in this journey, identity. Because discipline can't survive without a strong sense of who you are. If every day you tell yourself, I'm lazy, I'm inconsistent, I'm not good enough, then no matter how many habits you try to build, you'll sabotage them, because no one can act against the story they believe about themselves. Jung said it best, you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. So if you don't rewrite that internal narrative, if you don't change the way you see yourself, then any change you make, it'll be temporary. And here's a truth most people will never tell you. To be disciplined, you need a vision. A vision so strong that it overpowers your impulses. A vision that pulls you forward, even when everything inside you wants to stop. But I'm not talking about chasing money or fame. I'm talking about purpose, something so deep, so rooted in who you are, that when you touch it, it feels like you're touching your soul. Because when you act from that place, discipline stops being a chore. It becomes a commitment to your existence. And if you don't know what your purpose is yet, here's a clue. It's hiding behind your biggest fear. That thing you avoid, the one that makes your stomach turn just thinking about it, that's probably what you're here to do. And all the energy you've lost over the years, it wasn't from working hard. It was from constantly avoiding that one thing. Because discipline, it's not about grinding 24/7. It's about having the courage to face the thing you've been running from every single day. And here's the part that hurts the most. Most people would rather build an entire life around avoiding that fear than face it even once. They marry people they don't love, work jobs they hate, surround themselves with people who drain them, all to avoid looking inward, all to avoid touching the wound that, if healed, would finally set them free. But if you're still here, if you're still listening, it's because you're standing at the edge. You feel it. That something has to change, that you can't keep living like this. You're tired of lying to yourself, tired of breaking promises, tired of living on pause. Well, Jung gave us a clue to break that cycle. He said, confront the symbol, that thing that keeps repeating in your life, that feeling, that image, that voice in your head. Maybe it's the echo of a parent who never believed in you. Maybe it's the pressure of a society that only claps when you sell your soul for attention. Or maybe it's your own reflection whispering, you're not enough. That symbol is what holds you back. But if you face it, if you make it conscious, you destroy its power. And in that moment, something new is born. It's called authenticity. And from authenticity comes a new kind of discipline, one that doesn't need alarms or reminders, because you're no longer acting out of obligation. You're acting from identity, from truth, from a place so real you can't fake it. You don't do it to impress. You do it because you don't know how to live any other way. Action becomes natural. Habit becomes who you are. Effort becomes devotion. And then something incredible happens. You stop needing motivation. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop being a slave to results. You act with integrity, because it's the only way to feel peace within yourself. That right there is real discipline. Now listen closely to this next part. The reason you haven't changed? It's because you still care more about what you might lose than what you could gain. You still value comfort over transformation. You're still afraid of what it means to be powerful. And that fear? It makes sense, because once you realize you can, you lose every excuse. You can't blame your childhood. You can't blame your environment. You can't say, "I didn't know." How? Because deep down you always knew. But now you can't pretend anymore. So do it, not for the image, not for the applause. Do it because you're tired of not being you. Because living disconnected from your purpose hurts more than any sacrifice ever could. Because staying numb with distractions is just a slow way to die. Do it because the only real freedom is the ability to govern yourself. And when you finally do, discipline won't feel like a burden. It'll feel like breathing, like seeing, like existing. And then, for the first time, you'll look in the mirror and feel something different. Not guilt, but respect. Not for what you've achieved, but for who you've become. And that feeling, no one can take that from you. But just when you think you've reached the core, another layer appears, the most deceptive one of all, the self-image you built to survive. That version of you that smiles when it wants to scream, that says, "I'm fine," when it's falling apart inside. That mask you've worn for so long, you've forgotten where it ends and where you begin. And what does this have to do with discipline? Everything. Because as long as you protect that fake version of yourself, you'll never act with truth. You'll do routines out of pressure, not purpose. You'll chase results, not transformation. So here's the uncomfortable truth. You are not who you say you are. You are what your actions reveal when no one's watching. That's what defines your life, not your plans, not your goals, not your someday. Only what you do again and again, day after day. And if that doesn't match what you say you want, then it's not real. That's why this video, it wasn't made to motivate you. It was made to break you open, to wake you up, to pull you out of the coma of self-justification, to show you that your lack of discipline isn't a flaw, it's a consequence, a natural result of a life spent avoiding the truth, of a mind that spent more time protecting itself than evolving. But now, enough carrying broken versions of yourself, enough waiting to feel ready. The moment is not tomorrow, it's now. And if you feel like you can't, listen closely. No one feels ready before they're ready. Power comes after the leap, after the decision to stop running from yourself. Because that's the final act of discipline. To be fully, unapologetically you. No masks, no filters, no excuses. And if you've made it this far, it's not by accident. This isn't a video for everyone. It's for the few who are ready. For the ones who've realized that what hurts isn't failure. It's the distance between who you are and who you could be. If that's you, then act. Not tomorrow, today. Not out of obligation, but out of identity. And if you fall, get back up without drama. Because those who rebuild themselves daily are the only ones who are truly free. Let's keep going. Right now, I want you to ask yourself, what have I been avoiding? What have I been postponing? Name it, write it down, say it in your mind, or if you're brave enough, drop it in the comments with this phrase, I have seen myself and I won't betray myself anymore. Let that be your first act of discipline. And if this video hit a nerve, if it made you think, if it made you see parts of yourself that you've buried, then subscribe, not because I asked, but because you need more of this. This channel isn't here to entertain you. It's here to challenge you, to push you to the edge you've been avoiding. So maybe I'll see you in the next one, or maybe not, because this channel, it's not for watchers, it's for those who dare. Until then, stay uncomfortable, stay awake, and above all, stay you.